Folks, grab a seat because the AFC West just cracked wide open, and it did not happen because of anything the Denver Broncos did on the field. It happened because the Los Angeles Chargers, a team that national media has been drooling over all offseason, just watched their season long game plan collapse in real time. And before we get into the wreckage, I need 60 seconds of your time. If you are new here, hit that subscribe button right now. We are chasing down 1,000 subscribers on this channel, and every single one of you clicking that button gets us one step closer. It costs you nothing, it takes 2 seconds, and it means everything to a small channel trying to grow. Okay, now let's talk about the disaster unfolding in Los Angeles. Here is the setup. Heading into this offseason, the Chargers were sitting on more cap space than almost any team in the entire league. CBS Sports actually ranked every team by available cap room, and the Chargers landed in the second highest bracket in all of football, trailing only the Patriots, and only by about $27 million. We are talking triple digits. The Chargers walked into free agency with roughly $100 million to spend. $100 million. That is life-changing, roster-altering, championship window money. And what did they do with it? They spent the bulk of it on one player, one single offensive lineman. And that offensive lineman is now done for the entire season. Let that sink in for a second. This is the same storyline we flagged last week when word first broke that this signing was in trouble under Jim Harbaugh's watch. Today it became official. The Los Angeles Chargers will be without their starting center for the entire 2025 season. Now look, I want to be clear about something before the angry comments start rolling in. Nobody on this channel is doing a victory lap over an injury. Watching the guy lose his season is never something to celebrate, and we mean that. But we also cannot pretend this was some freak accident that nobody saw coming, because if you have followed this franchise for more than 5 minutes, you know exactly what this is. This is a pattern, and patterns do not lie. Let's rewind to last season for a moment. Justin Herbert, arguably one of the most talented quarterbacks in this league, was hit an absolutely staggering 129 times. That is one of the highest totals in the entire NFL. He played through broken fingers. He was banged up, battered, and by the time the playoffs rolled around, he looked like a shell of himself, seeing ghosts in the pocket, unable to trust anything happening around him. And here is the part that should make Chargers fans furious. Even with $100 million sitting in the bank, this front office did not go out and add real difference-making talent around him. They didn't sign a true number one receiver. They didn't rebuild the offensive line with multiple new bodies. They put almost all their eggs in one very expensive basket, and that basket just fell apart before the season even started. And this is not new for the Chargers. This organization has a long documented history of players getting hurt at the worst possible times, and it traces back to a bigger question that every smart football mind eventually asks. Who is actually taking care of these players behind the scenes? Because compare that to what is happening right here in Denver. Nobody in the league invests more in player health and recovery than Sean Payton and this Walton Penner ownership group. Sleep studies, biometric tracking. They went out and poached a performance technology executive straight from the Golden State Warriors front office to build out player wellness systems most teams do not even think about. It sounds boring. It sounds like the kind of thing casual fans tune out. But the results speak for themselves. Sean Payton inherited one of the most injury-riddled rosters in football and turned this team into one of the healthiest in the league 3 years running. That is not luck. That is a system. Meanwhile, the Chargers go out, sign a center who had never missed a game due to injury in his entire career, and within weeks of putting on that uniform, he is done for the year. You want more proof this is a pattern and not a coincidence? Go all the way back to 2018 and the Hunter Henry injury saga. This has been happening to this franchise for years. And when a pattern repeats itself that consistently, it stops being bad luck. It starts looking like a decision or a series of decisions being made behind closed doors that keep leading to the same outcome. Now let's talk about last season's marquee free agent addition, Rashawn Slater, because this one might be even more painful for Chargers fans than the center news. Slater tore his patellar tendon almost immediately after signing his massive extension. We are talking about the tendon that runs directly across the front of the knee, one of the thickest, most load-bearing tendons in the human body. When that thing tears, The recovery path is brutal, and it does not always lead back to the player's old form. There is actual published medical research on this exact injury in NFL players, tracking how many athletes return the following season and play in as many games as they did before the injury. The number is 14%. 14. That is the reality the Chargers are banking their entire offensive line rebuild on. A 14% shot. Those are not odds, those are a prayer. So even in the best case scenario where Slater somehow beats those numbers and comes back close to full strength, you still have a rookie manning the middle of that offensive line and one of the worst starting guards in professional football lined up right next to him. Let's talk about that guard for a second because the tape does not lie. Cole Strange, the Chargers' presumed starting right guard, wasn't even the starter on his previous team when the Chargers acquired him. Think about that. A backup brought in to be a starter on a line that just lost its two most important pieces. According to the advanced grading sites tracking every offensive lineman in football, Strange currently ranks around 75th among all guards. 75th, only 6 qualifying guards in the entire league graded worse than him last season, and there is video circulating right now, put together not by rival fan bases trying to talk trash, but by the Chargers' own fans, stitching together clip after clip of him getting driven backward, beaten inside, and tossed aside by backup defensive linemen in the preseason. Their own fans are the ones sounding the alarm. And now, the man expected to make all the line calls, identify the Mike linebacker, and hold together pass protection is a true rookie, a second-round pick out of Florida named Jake Slaughter, stepping into the most cerebral position on the offensive line with almost zero NFL experience. In the preseason opener, even with backups mixed in, against a San Francisco 49ers defense that wasn't even playing most of its starters, Justin Herbert got roughed up so badly that they pulled him after just 2 pass attempts. 2. Cole Strange posted an eye-popping pass block grade of 17 out of 100 in that game. 17, you could probably get a higher score falling out of bed. Even Joe Alt, coming back from his own injury, didn't look like himself. And the run game was arguably worse. Omarion Hampton, the shiny new addition everyone hyped up all offseason, got stuffed immediately, finishing with negative rushing yardage on his lone carry. Kamani Vidal barely scraped together 6 yards on the ground. The only Charger with any real rushing production was Trey Lance, and that's because backup quarterbacks scrambling around against vanilla preseason fronts always pad their numbers a little. Even the special teams looked shaky, giving up a big return to San Francisco, and if there is one thing dedicated coaches will tell you, it's that your special teams unit is often the clearest window into the true depth of your roster. When your third and fourth stringers can't cover a punt, that tells you something about the whole organization. So now ask yourself this: where exactly is the difference-making talent supposed to come from for the Chargers this season? Their best pass catcher is Ladd McConkey, a very good slot receiver, but a player who realistically profiles as a team's third or fourth option on a truly stacked roster, not a number one you build an offense around. On our own roster here in Denver, there is a legitimate argument that Pat Bryant, currently fighting for a role, has a higher ceiling than McConkey does. Let that marinate. And it's not like the Chargers can lean on the ground game to bail them out either, given what we just watched from that backfield in the preseason. On top of all of that, the scheduling gods are not being kind to Los Angeles this year. Analysts have pointed out the Chargers are dealing with one of the most grueling travel slates in the league, logging significantly more total miles than most opponents. Their rest differential, meaning how much recovery time they get compared to opponents heading into games, sits at a brutal negative 20 plus. In plain English, that means in game after game this season, the team lining up across from the Chargers will have had more days to recover and heal, while Herbert's crew is stepping off a longer flight with a beat-up offensive line trying to hold together for 4 quarters. And here is the twist that should really sting if you're a Chargers fan. Despite everything, Justin Herbert still has never won a single playoff game in his career. Bo Nix, in his second season as a professional, already has a playoff victory on his resume. If you're wearing Chargers colors, that has to eat at you. You have arguably one of the most physically gifted arms in football, and the roster around him keeps sabotaging every real chance at sustained success. Now, here's where it gets almost comical. Despite every single one of these red flags, plenty of national media personalities are still out here confidently predicting the Chargers to win the AFC West this season. Colin Cowherd came out and picked the Chargers to finish first in the division, with the Chiefs right behind them and the Broncos all the way down in third. ESPN's own site has a nearly identical projection: Chiefs first, Chargers second, Broncos trailing well behind both. And look, I try not to get too worked up about preseason predictions, but this one is genuinely difficult to wrap your head around given everything we just walked through. You are looking at a team that is down at starting center for the year, relying on a 14% recovery chance from its top offseason signing, trotting out a bottom 10 graded guard, breaking in a rookie at the most mentally demanding line position on the roster, and getting outscheduled on top of it all. That's who the so-called experts have finishing ahead of Denver. All right, we're halfway through, and I need to ask you for something real quick. If this breakdown has been valuable to you, if you like getting the honest, no fluff version of what's actually happening around this division, please take 2 seconds and hit that subscribe button. We are building something here, chasing that first big milestone of 1,000 subscribers, and every single subscriber genuinely moves the needle for a channel this size. If you're already subscribed, drop a comment and let me know your prediction for how the Chargers season actually plays out, because I have a feeling a lot of you agree with me on this one. Now, let's flip the page, because there's a defensive player on this roster who should be circling his calendar for 2 specific dates on the schedule this year: Zack Allen. If you know anything about Zack Allen's game, you know he thrives on interior pressure, collapsing pockets, and making life miserable for undersized or overmatched guards. Now imagine him lined up across from a rookie center trying to make his first career line calls next to a guard who graded in the bottom 10 of the entire league last season. That's not a matchup, that's a mismatch. Don't be shocked if Zack Allen has family flying in for both of those games, because this might be his coming out party on a national stage. Let's pivot to our own team for a minute, because there's real news here too heading into Friday night. The Broncos are set to face the Minnesota Vikings, and the big question everyone is buzzing about is whether Sean Payton is going to roll out his starters or keep them on the sideline in a clipboard holder. There's been a lot of chatter this week, including comments from around the league about the science behind preseason reps and injury prevention. The going theory right now, based on discussions happening at the coaching level across the NFL, is that either running joint practices with an opponent or actually playing your starters extensively in preseason games is one of the better ways to reduce injury risk once the real games start. Combine that with Sean Payton's own comments after the Packers preseason game, where he expressed real frustration and made it clear he wants his players logging snaps into the third quarter. And there's a strong case building that we could see meaningful starter reps against Minnesota. And honestly, from a football standpoint, this would be a fantastic test. Brian Flores runs one of the most disguised, aggressive defensive schemes in the entire NFL. And unlike a lot of teams that just run vanilla-based looks in preseason to protect their playbook, Flores has been doing the opposite. Through the Vikings' first 2 preseason outings, he dialed up real stunts, real exotic pressure packages, the genuine article. We saw him get after Jackson Dart in the first game, and then bring more of that same pressure against the Bengals. If Bo Nix gets extended run against a defense playing at that level of complexity, that is invaluable preparation, especially with the showdown against the defending champion Kansas City Chiefs looming on the calendar. Getting a live look at disguised pressure now could be the difference between Bo Nix seeing something confusing for the first time in week 1 against Kansas City versus recognizing it instantly because he's already lived through it in the preseason. So drop a comment and let me know, would you rather see the Broncos play it safe and hold their starters, or roll the dice and get real reps against a defense this complicated? I genuinely want to hear your take on this one. Here's the bottom line as we wrap this up. On paper, before a single meaningful snap of the regular season has even been played, the AFC West picture looks dramatically different than what the national talking heads are selling you. The Chargers are staring down a season without their starting center, riding a 14% recovery bet on their top free agent signing. Protecting Justin Herbert with arguably the worst starting guard in football in a true rookie center, all while dealing with one of the harshest travel and ref schedules in the league. Meanwhile, right here in Denver, we have a young quarterback who already owns a playoff win that Justin Herbert still can't claim, a defense that gave the 49ers everything they could handle, even without their full complement of starters, and an organization built from the top down around keeping players healthy and available. Say what you want about preseason results not mattering, but you cannot ignore the trajectory here. The gap that the so called experts think exists between Denver and Los Angeles simply is not backed up by what we are seeing on tape or on the injury report. So, no, we're not doing a victory lap over anybody getting hurt, but we are absolutely allowed to point out that this division is far more winnable than Colin Cowherd or ESPN want you to believe. And that should have all of us smiling heading into the season. The ball don't lie. All right, that is going to do it for this breakdown. If you made it all the way to the end, first off, thank you. That means a lot. Second, do me a huge favor, hit that like button, drop a comment below with your prediction for how this Chargers offensive line disaster plays out. And if you have not already, subscribe to this channel right now. We are on the climb toward 1,000 subscribers, and every single one of you watching this has the power to help us get there. Turn on notifications so you don't miss the next breakdown, because we've got a lot more coming as this Broncos season heats up. Until next time, I'll see you in the comments.
Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 2,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy the content, please hit that subscribe button right now.